to the curve, where ideas take flight, blending tech and teaching, sparking insight.
Hi guys, welcome everybody. We are here today with the Digital Learning Department from Region 7, and on board is myself, Cyndi and I'm the coordinator for digital learning, and the great Michael Pettit, who is our specialist who's helping run esports within our department. Today we're super lucky to get to talk to Danielle Johnson from TexSEF. She helps coordinate amazing events for esports across the state, but I want her to introduce herself and tell us a little bit about who she is and what she does at TexSEF.
Hi, I'm Danielle Johnson. I am a recovering middle school teacher and the executive director for the Texas Scholastic Esports Federation. And TexSEF is a teacher-run nonprofit esports organization serving just Texas schools. So it is everybody that volunteers or works with our organization is somebody in Texas education, almost entirely public school teachers. We do have a couple charter school and homeschool and private school teachers that help us out, a couple college faculty and stuff like that. But we only serve Texas schools, and we do it the way that other institutions in Texas operate, which is entirely through the teachers. And this isn't owned by anybody. It is run by the teachers that are doing the work on their campuses because we believe that those closest to the kids should be making the decisions. So every school or campus or district esports program should look like the district. They all shouldn't look alike. They should be run exactly how the teachers, the parents, the staff, the students, the community think it should be run on their campus. So that means schools have authority over games, over how many teams they have, how many coaches, how many games they play. Because that's how things run in Texas. Everything is hyper local.
So, Danielle, when you're talking about it looks like the district, what are some different setups that you see for esports in different districts?
There are a couple of different models, and definitely depending on whether it's high school, middle grades, or elementary. Um, the two main models are in class and after school. So we do have a growing number of school districts that have an esports class as an elective. There are some business classes that you can label it under, which is great because that gets CTE, FTE money, and it can also work towards those CCMR completers, which means that the school is actually like earning money
Right,
as the kids are in
right.
their esports classes. Then we have, like mostly for middle school, this is where we see it almost entirely is after school programs, just like you have other different kinds of clubs. Not every school has a robotics class, but they may have a robotics competition or robotics team. So
Okay,
then
awesome.
the third type is that those are like middle school, high school, secondary. In elementary school, what we see as the best practice, and honestly, the best elementary school program in the country is in Dallas ISD. And so my son was actually on his team when he was in elementary school, so I got to experience it as a parent. And how they operated was the campus had their club, their esports club, and they would play just each other on campus. They would play Fridays after school. That's when their club met. Then once a semester or once a year, the district hosts an in-person event for the elementary schools. So this way you're getting that bonding on campus, but you're also getting the kids working up to going to an in-person event. What we see a lot of times is even at the state championship level, that might be the first esports event that these students have been to in person. And we want to start that younger. The benefits of having the in person events is that we're connecting kids that don't necessarily know each other. And that is our main goal, connecting kids to school and to each other. So the in-person events for every level are super important to bring kids together so that they can build empathy and they can connect with students that don't necessarily live, speak, or look like each other.
That's exciting. And I'm excited you brought up the CTE connections. That's been here at Region 7. Our goal is to move them from gamers to makers. And so you mentioned business is
Yeah.
one of the ways that they're coding those classes. We've also looked at maybe audiovisual, like with the
Mhm.
marketing and things and computer programming. Are there any others you could just rattle off the top of your head that perhaps people are coding it as?
Sports management is a great
Okay.
one. Yeah.
Okay, that's
Um,
fantastic.
and then we also have game design. A lot of the kids
Mhm.
are into game design, but we don't necessarily see a ton of crossover between gamers and coders. Just like we don't, we've got to like think about this in terms of other extracurricular competitions. We don't
Mhm.
push every football player to go into kinesiology or biology or anatomy. And so esports is first and foremost a student belonging
Mhm.
situation. And
Mhm.
actually, from our standpoint, esports is 100% an attendance program. So students on their school esports team go to school an average of 7 days more per year than their uninvolved peers. And we have that data. The primary sources are on the TexSEF website on the resource page. Um, we have 3 different studies over 3 different years in 3 different states that show this. So we're seeing that pretty consistently across all esports programs in schools across the country. And that is the same attendance rate that UIL brings. For UIL participation, it raises student attendance by about 7 days per year, and we're seeing the exact same thing with esports. So
That's so
we,
fantastic. I
yeah.
mean, and we've seen that same thing at Region 7 that there are kids who are plugging in who would not have plugged in. There are kids who are taking risks and really growing that might have otherwise struggled a little bit to find a place. And so I'm so excited to hear about those studies. We're going to have to check those out, Michael, and see what those
Yeah.
say.
Yeah, so
It's
I
go.
love to see the statistics, and I love to see Texas statistics. One of our first pieces of data we got was from California. It was wonderful data, but in my mind, I thought, well, this is good, but I'd really like to see it here too. So I'm really excited to hear that. I did have a tag along for something you said. I love how you said it's different districts doing it their way because that's Texas's independent school districts, and we certainly celebrate that and are excited about that. But would you say one commonality is growth? Because that's what we're seeing. If you get in, if you jump in, you might not do it the same as this district, but you're going to see growth. You're going to see buy-in. You're going to see people getting more and more interested, more and more opportunities. Would you agree with that?
Oh, 100%. There are very few esports programs that get started and then like attrition and they disappear from attrition.
Mhm.
The most common reason that an esports program would dissolve or disappear is if that teacher moves to, a different school or they get promoted or a different district. That's why we see them, sometimes not have an esports program anymore. But yeah, the ones that are pretty established, that are institutionally supported by their campus and their district, you're going to see a ton of growth to where they're hiring second and third teachers just to help with the esports program.
Wow.
Um, Not that it's from Texas, but there's a school in Florida that one of our colleagues works at that he started his esports program in his school and it grew so fast, the school turned it into an academy. And so, yeah, it's incredible. And so they have the highest attendance and GPA of any academy in their district. And so it's just such a unique thing. The gaming community is really, really open and embraces new members. They embrace the weird. They embrace the kids that may not have fit in places before. They embrace the neurodivergent incredibly well.
Yes. Yes.
Disabilities or, different abilities don't really have any standing against how you play. And
Right.
so it's such a welcoming and inclusive community that there's no way it doesn't grow.
Mhm. We
One of
actually
my,
had two neurodiverse kids in the like finals
yeah,
last year, and it was one of the most beautiful like tears. Like it was a beautiful thing to see them so excited and cheering on their partners, and so I sorry to interrupt, but I had
oh
to
no, no,
absolutely
no.
say no. We saw that, and it was a beautiful thing. It was wonderful to get to see that.
One of the things I always want to point out about the belonging is it's not just for students, it's for your teachers too.
Mm.
I have coached academics and athletics long enough that there are spring softball tournaments that I'm like, I just want to go home. It is snowing. It is spring break. This is not how I should be right now. But that doesn't happen at esports tournaments. Um, it's where our teachers find community. And so our teachers love coming to our events because they get to hang out with their friends.
Right.
And that's not something that you see traditionally in athletics or academic competitions, is the connections across schools and across teams, the way that you see it at esports programs.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, okay, so tell me, TexSEF, right?
Yes.
So if an East Texas school wants to get involved in TexSEF, what does TexSEF offer for them? Like why
Yeah.
would they get in? Why would they reach out and get directly involved?
So TexSEF is more than just competition. We have competition, classroom, and community. Those are our kind of three pillars of our activities. Competition is obviously the most like forward one, right? So we offer for competition, we have our leagues. So that's weekly. You play whatever game on whatever day of the week, just like you do for basketball or volleyball. And that is, every single week. We have 3 different levels of competition for high school and middle school. So we have our varsity level for high school, and that's going to be your top teams. And the coaches get to decide who's on varsity, who's on JV. It's not up to us. And that is the only part of our league that we have a deadline for. So we do lock our varsity registration about 2 weeks into the season. I think we're doing it February 7th this year. And so schools can sign up and still be part of the varsity program until February 7th. But then we have our JV and our middle grades. JV, we call it rec. Our rec and our middle grades competition. And those don't have a deadline. So we don't want kids to get excited about esports in October and then have to wait till January to start playing. And so schools can join at any point in the school year and still be part of the organization and still play. We don't directly run elementary school programs. We do guide and it's now a lot of region service centers that are starting elementary school programs. But that is our online competition. Then what we do the absolute best that nobody can touch us on is our in-person competitions. Last year we had 17 in-person competitions across the state before the state championship. And those, like everything else, is locally run. Schools, districts, region service centers, cities, and colleges can all host our LANs, that's I forgot what it stands for. Network.
I know. It is. It's
I just like
LAN.
yeah. So it's our in-person tournament.
Yes.
They're all over
Local
the state.
area network.
Area. God, I could not remember the A.
Thank you.
But yeah. So it comes from like back in the day when we had to hook all of our computers up with the blue cables, and they were called LAN parties. My brother and his friends
Halo
were having them in my
mostly.
garage. Yeah,
Yeah.
Halo is definitely one. And so that's what we still call them, even if we don't use the blue cables. But we had 17 LANs last year. I don't quite know how many we're having this year. There's like a ton on our website right now. But like I said, they're all over the state so that every kid should have an opportunity to attend an in-person event. That's our goal, is to have one within a reasonable driving distance of every school in Texas. And we get really close. So we have our league, which is online, and then we have our in-person events. We also do teacher professional development. So we had our summit in October. We'll have another one next fall. We do, general PD for districts, teacher coaching for, how to get better at being a coach, how to get better at coaching specific titles. And we also have our community, which is our teacher community. So our teacher community lives online in a platform called Discord. For those millennials, it's like ICQ or Instant Messenger or chat rooms, like old CompuServe chat rooms.
Sorry, ICQ. Wonderful reference. Thank you for that.
Oh yeah. That is, my childhood. But that is where our teacher community lives. It's how we discuss and come up with the ways that we're going to do things, because it needs to work for all of us. There are 1,209 school districts in Texas, And this program, we want it to be in every single one of them. And so it is the teachers that make decisions and have the discussions about rules, about processes, about titles we play, about everything. And so that's where all of the discussion lives, is in our teacher community. And then, like I said earlier, our teachers find community at our events, which is wonderful.
Okay,
Uh,
so you mentioned, oh, go Michael, go Michael.
no, I think we're saying the same thing. You know, we're educational co-op people. So when you say PD, our eyes lighten up. So tell me what a TexSEF PD would look like.
We have a couple different kinds. So one that's like general esports, let's get these things started, or let's grow newish programs a little bit. We generally do those with Region Service Centers. And so ours in October was at Region 13 in Austin. We've done Region 11, Region 10, a couple of others. I can't think of them off the top of my head. Region 16 in the Panhandle, and a couple of others. But we work with 13 or 14 of the 20 region service centers to help them, advise them on their esports programs, do professional development, or, just things like this, where we're educating their coaches on how to bring these programs or how to grow their programs.
So regarding state qualifying,
Yeah.
so Region 7 is hosting their event in February. And are we one of those land state qualifying events? Is that what
Yeah.
we've come to?
Yeah, so when we're talking about the state championship, we have three pathways for schools to come to the state championship, because the Texas Esports State Championship is actually the largest youth esports event in the world, um, by competition, because it's over 1,000 competitors from about 100 schools across the state. And so schools can qualify from the online leagues, so playing in the fall or the spring leagues. But the most common way is the in-person lands, the qualifiers. And so when a school district, region service center, city or college hosts a school esports event, the top, it depends on the title, top 25% or top 8, whichever is less,
Okay.
are automatically invited to the state championship. And so if your schools have played at an event this year and they came in the tops, they're probably already know that they're invited to the state championship. Then our third pathway, so we have the leagues, we have the lands, and then we straight plagiarize from NCAA March Madness. I didn't even change some of the language, because they do it right? We have a nomination and voting process, and that actually starts February 1st. So we will have a nomination form on our website. And how that works is any school or team can be nominated for any reason. It can be they have the coolest coach, the best jerseys, the best sportsmanship, whatever. And then that team can make a 1-minute pitch video that they post on, I think we use another, we were using Flipgrid. Now it's another thing. But they post their videos. And so our selection committee goes through the videos and they pick the rest of the teams to fill out the spots for the state championship. So
That's
any team can make it.
exciting.
Yeah. And we also have our biggest rule for the nominations is you can't self-nominate your team. I know every teacher on awards day at the end of the year has students that come to them and say, why didn't you nominate me? Why wasn't I your student of the year? Why wasn't I? Why wasn't I? Why wasn't I? And we never want that to happen to teachers for esports. And
Right.
so a student can't go back to their teacher and say, why didn't you nominate me? Because they can't. But you can swap with schools, like I'll nominate you, you nominate me, but that means your teacher's part of a community, and which is exactly what we want. And so as long as you're not self-nominating, any school, district, region service center, college, city employee can nominate a team, and that team has the opportunity to make a pitch video to
Yeah.
get themselves to state.
So just to further that, if a superintendent were to ask us, why would I want to send some kids to Waco to see this thing? What would your pitch be? What would you say?
Why do we want to make the state championship in football?
There you go.
The exact
There you
same
go.
reason, because the team
I'll
itself
never forget it.
is
Yeah.
the goal, right? The skills you learn on the football field at practice in the locker room are the skills that we're going for. And so it's the same thing on the esports team, but we also want to celebrate the kids when they're doing really well.
Yeah.
A couple of reasons is outside of, if you're like, my team's not that good, but they got invited to state, it is the experience of a lifetime. So it is way overkill for a high school state championship. It is put on at the production level of professional esports events, with professional broadcast team, which we also let our students broadcast, which is great. And it is just the event of a lifetime. And even more than that, like I talked about the connection between schools. So at a basketball tournament, you hang out with your team between events. At an esports tournament, all the kids that play the same title hang out together, regardless of what school they go to. And unlike basketball, the kids can exchange information and keep playing together all year. And so we're really building those connections and deep connections with students that live in different parts of the state. And like I said, don't look, speak, or live like each other. And so that is one of our biggest goals, is building, pardon my allergies. That's our biggest goal, is building that empathy and building that connection across the state.
Just
So that's one of the things we see.
yeah, no, I love everything you're saying. 'Cause Cyndi and I have a big heart as well. We have rural districts, and it's not an exaggeration to say some of these kids don't leave the town. And so what an opportunity for a kid who finally found his place, who maybe didn't have a club, but now he does. That's big, that's huge. And now because of that, he gets to go somewhere where he never would have gone, to see something that he's only seen on Twitch or seen on YouTube, right? This big, huge event. Well, now you're here. And that that gets me excited to think about the impact that would have on that particular students. I love it. I love the way you frame that, for sure.
And what some of the things that are a little more exciting this year about our state championship is, like I said, TexSEF, the state championship is the largest youth esports event in the world, but there's also the largest collegiate event. And that is called the Collegiate Esports Commissioners Cup, or CECC. That has teams from about 200 colleges around the state competing in 4 or 5 titles, and they've decided they wanted to partner with us this year. So their tournament is the same weekend as the state championship in Waco, but at the Waco Convention Center, which is 6 blocks away. So in partnering, the top colleges from all over the country are going to be able to see the top teams in Texas play. So we're hopefully going to see a lot of recruitment. We are doing several collaborative events with CECC over the course of the weekend. So our tournament is Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and theirs is Friday, Saturday, Sunday. But that Thursday night, after our first day of play, we are having an official opening ceremonies with CECC and all the colleges at Foster Pavilion, which is where Baylor basketball plays. Friday morning, we are having a women in gaming breakfast for all of the female players and coaches and other staff that is there for the event. And then all day Saturday at the convention center is going to be a college recruitment fair. So more than 200 schools will be represented from, like I said, around the country. And we're talking Boise State, Syracuse, like schools from California, plus the 70-some Texas schools, that have esports programs. And so that by itself is reason enough to come. Even if your team necessarily isn't making it. Right? It's so exciting.
That's so exciting. Now, what weekend is this? Is this the first weekend of May? Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
It's actually the weekend between STAR and AP class or AP tests.
Well done.
Right, and
that's a Texas person right there. That's she was ready.
And last year I think track UIL state championships got moved to the same weekend, but there wasn't a whole lot of crossover. And there shouldn't be any other major events going on. Yeah, so it is it's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, because we don't do Sundays. This is Texas. And so schools generally get their Wednesday night, stay Thursday, Friday, and if they make it all the way to Saturday, we're hoping more schools stay for Saturday, just because we're going to have a crazy, amazing college fair Saturday. Oh, I forgot to mention. I said the opening ceremonies, the women's breakfast, the college fair. I forgot to say that Friday night, for the very first time, and I'm so excited because I've always wanted to do this, we are having our first all-state awards. So we're going to be awarding like first team all-state, first team academic all-state, and several other awards to our players, our coaches, our schools, and some district leadership for supporting esports. So this is going to be kind of the biggest weekend in Texas esports.
That is so exciting. And I love that you're intentionally setting it up to make that connection to college because like I said, that's exactly where we see this going.
Yeah.
And we see that we could hook into something that kids really love, which is esports and gaming, but we could grow them into a career or grow them into an opportunity just to get them going for college. So
Yep.
so tell me, you've got a bigger lens than I do. So what is that looking like across the state? Like how are other regions or even other states? Just tell us the big picture. How are they connecting and integrating esports into college career, CTE? Like what is that looking like? We've touched on it a little bit, but is there a bigger lens or even a preview of what maybe other states are doing that could be coming to Texas? Like give us a scope. Like what's happening?
Well, we can't look to other states to see what's coming in Texas because everybody looks at Texas to see what's coming to them.
Smart lady, smart
Yeah,
lady.
out goes Texas, right? So there are, almost over 24 teacher-run esports leagues that operate for schools in their states. Together, we are called Interstate Scholastic Esports, or ISEA. The website is iseaesports.org. And I'm the president of that organization. And so I do know what is happening around the country. And if you see on our website, NECC and another one, those are college leagues. So they're just like you have the Big 12 or you have the Big East, or I don't know what they're called anymore. They all changed. There are different college leagues or divisions that schools play in. And we have agreements already with the two biggest around the country. We have a partnership agreement where we are coordinating more to work together. We have a path for collegiate volunteers at all of our events, or recent graduates if that's what you're looking for. So they can work and come to all of our events and help us out, especially if they've got a little bit of experience. And this is totally resume building because they can put this on their resume. Our organization is known. And so if they put that they helped with, XYZ at TexSEF, that's going to hold some water when people look at their resumes. And that also means that, if they stand out to us, I'm going to be pointing companies to look at them if that's what they want to do. So that is, one way that we're working with colleges. Like I said, we also have colleges that host tournaments for us, just like the state championship, where it's going to be at Baylor University, my alma mater, at the Hurd Welcome Center, which is one of their newer buildings on campus. It's huge. It's beautiful. Then there's also what we see mostly is schools have esports to reduce attrition. So kids in community don't drop out. And so gaming is such a community. It doesn't even have to be highly competitive. It can be just, connecting through competition. And we're seeing a lot of county colleges and rural colleges, small colleges, really invest in their esports programs as clubs sometimes, or as varsity programs which compete in these leagues, just so that there's more community on campus.
Yeah,
It's an
we're
easy
seeing
win.
that, Danielle. Yeah, we've got some great partners, TVCC, Jacksonville, UT Tyler,
Yeah.
um, uh, East Texas A&M, and
Kilgore
Kilgore
College.
College.
Mhm.
They're just running such great, amazing programs. And Panola College, they're coming on board, and they've been wonderful partners for us coming to our esports tournaments. In fact, I just emailed them all yesterday and heard back from many of them. They're ready. They're so excited to come to our event
Yay!
in February. So thinking of, here's all these entryways into college and all these connections and ways that we can help get kids into college. So what about after college? What are you seeing about, current and projected job market? What does that look like for careers connected to esports, gaming, or just digital industries? Because I kind of see it as a foot in the door for them to then go somewhere else. Like I became a teacher, but then I was an administrator, a consultant, a specialist.
Yeah.
Now I'm helping run business at a region center. So, that kind of thing. What do you see? What can we tell parents or administrators about that?
One of the things I want to talk about is a paradigm that I was kind of inundated with when I first started teaching in the early aughts. And that is we are preparing students for jobs that don't exist yet. And we've all heard that, but I kind of want to flip it a little bit. We are preparing kids for multiple careers over their lifetime. So we're not just preparing them for jobs that don't exist yet. Most jobs that didn't exist are still jobs that existed, just in a different medium or platform, right? They still have the same purposes. But we are preparing our students to have multiple careers over their lifetimes, potentially in multiple industries over their lifetimes. And so preparing students to be generalists is really what we're going for. We want them to know how to set up tournaments, how to, do the planning and the preparation, how to make the graphics, how to run a stream, even at just the most basic level. Because these skills are first entirely transferable. Running business meetings, running events, just being able to communicate with your colleagues. But another important aspect is with Gen Alpha, which is ninth grade and below, most of their relationships throughout their lifetime, and honestly, most of their professional relationships will be virtual. And so when they're on Discord as teammates talking to each other, whether it's in competition and they're, communicating as they play, or whether it's planning or just being friends and communicating through digital platforms, this is how the rest of their life is going to go. And so that is where we should be really focusing our learning on that interpersonal relationship stuff, is how to do it online when tone doesn't necessarily translate, when you can't necessarily read body language, like how you communicate professionally and virtually is going to be just as important as how you communicate in person. And so that is a skill that is going to take them the rest of their life, just aside from any specific job skills. Project management is probably the industry that this ties to the most. And I know that from my partner's company that is based in DFW, hiring project managers is hard. And so even going through high school and you get your project management certificate, your student project management certificate, that is, if you have your PM certificate through the IBC program in Texas, when you graduate, you are hired. Like you probably have a job before you graduate high school. So that is an incredible skill to be able to take with you. But there's like the esports industry itself is a part of experiential marketing. It's all marketing for the game companies. And so experiential marketing and interactive media is one of those, it doesn't exist yet, or it didn't exist 10 years ago, that we are really preparing our students for. And that's what we're seeing a lot of kids go into because they're used to running streams, they're used to creating content, and they are able to take that with them into any industry they go into.
I really like what you talked about with the soft skills of just communication, collaboration, and then really that was a new point for us talking about project management being a very big part. So thank you for that plug. And we, again, all of those things are so necessary for, as you said, multiple careers that they can evolve into, that they can apply in different ways.
I
Yeah,
mean, I
incredible.
love the word generalist. I circled it and underlined it in my mind. I was like, absolutely. I want my own children to be able to step into a situation and say, okay, I don't know everything, but I know how to do this and I can bridge this to this. So that really stood out to me. I like that terminology. I'll probably take that one from you and say that I'm just playing. I'm playing.
Yeah, no, I stole it from David Epstein, who wrote the book called Range: Why Generalists Triumph in a Specialized World. And so if you're into that kind of reading, I highly recommend it. It's called Range by David Epstein, but it's about generalists and how having these soft skills and these broad skills can translate into any industry.
Okay. Well, you have done way more than we could have even imagined. You've answered so many questions we wanted answered and then answered more. So we really appreciate that. Is there anything else you would like to say in case someone is watching this podcast, a new new to the gaming world or new to esports, I should say,
Yeah.
or just more to come?
So, something I say to every teacher, or almost every teacher, well, there's three kind of ways that schools get into esports, right? There's the young Gen Z teacher who played esports and maybe even played on their college team, right? And they're like, when I go teach, this is what I want to do. It's a lot like our middle school football coaches. They're like, I came to teaching to coach football, and they start in middle school and they work their way up. Um, and then there's the district level kind of voluntold, we're doing esports, you're in charge. But the most common way is a group of students go to a teacher they're comfortable with and ask them to be the sponsor or the adult in the room. And that teacher knows nothing about esports. And what I say to them is, if you have ever taken kids on a field trip, worked a track meet, or worked academic UIL, you are 100% capable of running an esports program. It is not about the games, because the games change. It is about getting kids to the right place at the right time with the right stuff. And that is what we do for every extracurricular, every field trip, everything we do in education is that. It's kind of, kitten management. And so as long as you can do that, the kids are always going to know more about the games than you. So it's not even an issue. So as long as you can monitor them, it's kind of like monitoring recess, where you're there if necessary to redirect and to guide and to stop issues. But really, it's about letting the kids be kids. And so it's one of those incredible things that once you start and once you go to your first event, you're going to be like, oh, if I realized it was this easy, I would have done it so long ago. And so I just want to hopefully reduce the anxiety and reduce the fear or the unknown of starting an esports program, because you can. When I planned to start for my middle schools in my school district, I knew nothing. All I knew was I needed to find somebody who knew what the games did, or like knew how to work that. And I found some other teachers, which is how we ended up with TexSEF. And the other thing is, we want you as part of our organization. So everything runs through teachers. Our middle school commissioner is a high school teacher in Mesquite. Like I taught in Carrollton. Our high school commissioner, he was at Texas High in Texarkana, and now he's at A&M Texarkana. Rachel, who manages all of our land information, she's actually a homeschool mom. And so we want you as part of our organization. If you've got skills that you want to contribute, absolutely. There's not a ton of leadership roles inside of a campus. And so when you need those to put on your resume so that you can move up, we are the place. We will take your skills and we will help you use them to affect statewide, things, and stuff that you can really put on your resume so that no one says you don't have official leadership experience.
Awesome. One last thing from me. I know, again, thank you for me and Cyndi. I have no doubt that we're grateful for the time. But I have found TexSEF to be very easy to communicate with. Get back with the emails, hey, let's talk, Zoom number. So when the time comes and someone sees this and they say, hey, could I get some TexSEF information? Can we share your information and say, hey,
Oh, yes.
they're easy to talk to? Okay.
Absolutely.
Sure.
And thank you for saying that, because y'all, I'm a middle school teacher.
Yeah.
We're like the most approachable group on the planet. And so I love talking about this, and I love reassuring, guiding. I was an instructional coach for several years, so this is kind of my jam. But not just me, there's somebody in your area down the street that does this too. And so we have regional guidance everywhere. If you're a new coach and you need a mentor, we can hook that up with an experienced coach so that you have someone specific to go ask questions to. We are doing this so that everybody has higher outcomes and higher achievement, not just students, but teachers, so that we become more effective teachers in the process. So this is hopefully something that connects our state and that our state can be proud of, because we are by far leading it in the country, as Texas
Awesome.
should.
That's right. That's right. Well, Cyndi, I think we're good to go as far as this
Danielle,
part. Hopefully
thank you
more to
so
come.
much.
Thank you.
Yeah, more to come. I think this is a very exciting and inspiring conversation, just to let people know that esports truly has an impact on kids. It has an impact on schools. it has an impact on that bridge to college and career, and that there is a very passionate and open group of people who are willing to help support people in that. So Danielle, thanks for joining us. Thanks for telling
Thank
us
you.
about TexSEF, and we look forward to working with you more in the future.
Sounds good. I'll talk to you
All
later.
right. Thank you.
Welcome to the curve, where ideas take flight. Blending tech and teaching, sparking insight.